handwriting was terrible. No one could read it, right? It was my father who had the impeccable handwriting despite being left-handed, right? Am I right? I mean, her handwriting was awful.
Legendary.
So, anyway, all right, so like Betty, we were under tight guidelines here in terms of minutes, all right? That's Julie's work. We got an email. Anyway, so look, Julie and the Cancer Support Team, thank you. Miriam, thank you. And Rupert, you're a very close friend, so where's Rupert? There. All right, thank you for all of this, and obviously Tony and Frank, you guys are great and everything. This is a really special event. The Lee family here is about 30 people large, and you're among the most important people in all of our lives. Anyway, I certainly have a lot of great memories of my mother, and many are captured in the biography that's in the booklet that you guys have in front of you. But one of the common themes, Miriam, that you touch upon, that she was a go-getter. I'll tell you, she was a dynamo. When she committed herself to something, she went on it really hard. We saw that in high school, student body president, graduated 3 years from Mass General Hospital, becoming an RN, and then her role in the Westchester Junior League. Everywhere she went, she made a major impact. When she decided to blend her nursing skills with her leadership and communication skills to work with Dr. Wald in 1978, obviously her legacy took on a very different chapter. You know, as we know from the comments earlier this evening, they each shared a vision that the regulatory constraints and the lack of a holistic approach that hospice was offering at the time created a really, void in the market and a wonderful opportunity for them to serve patients and their families. And I remember vividly, I was in 6th grade when CST began, and the countless hours she would spend with her patients. I mean, I remember the emotional toll it took on her, whether someone was, dying or about to die or going back from a funeral, and, leaving, getting out of her car, coming into our kitchen. I mean, I remember vividly being in middle school watching all this. Her days were not defined as a typical professional. I mean, it was not 9 to 5. It was 7 days a week, anytime she was on call, weekends, everything. And at times, candidly, it created friction in our house. I mean, she dominated the phone, in the evenings, and
I remember.
The kids line or the kids line?
this one here was in high school looking for boyfriends, and boy, it was tough. So, anyway, but here's the thrust of what I want to say tonight is about a month ago, in preparation for this, I went up to my attic, because Julie had asked me to get some photos of Arnold and my mother back in the 70s, and the way things work in the Lee family, I end up being the guy who, I have all the stuff, right? I literally have 50 binders of Lee family history in my attic. Anyway, so I start going through these things, and I find wonderful pictures of my mom and Dr. Wald. But what I found so fascinating was that my mother took copious notes of her patients, and I found probably the first or second iteration of them back from 1979. It was fascinating actually to read this, because I remember this. I mean, I vividly remember some of the names of these patients, because he would talk about them, or on the phone, they would call the house, I'd answer the phone, this is Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, is your mother there? But I want to read for you what she wrote at the end of her first year Cancer Support Team. I think it sort of sums things up for what everyone who's a volunteer for Cancer Support Team and sort of lives through this great organization knows. So this is my mother's words in 1979. I guess it was 1980, actually. This year-end review covering patients seen from September 1979 to May 1980 has been a year of learning and growing, joy and pain, success and failure. I have encountered all of society's problems: homosexuality, alcoholism, drug addiction, suicide, delinquency, divorce, adultery. Every conceivable emotion: love, hate, anger, bitterness, hostility, bewilderment, peace, pain, fear, and the ultimate betrayal of the intellect, defiance, denial, patience, hope, deception, cure, remission, and acceptance. Becoming involved beyond the disease entity is both meaningful and important, and I am convinced that we are providing a real and useful service to our patient population. Mine says 1980. And then she went on, that's a few paragraphs, and she went on. My future plans include expanding our program through the Rye office, supplementing care with well-trained volunteers, and initiate support groups to better accommodate the special needs of cancer patients. Our work is an exciting undertaking with unlimited potential. I think we are in the vanguard of heightened awareness in patient care and look forward to leading the movement. So here we are 40 years later. I think she was on to something. So with that, thank you very much.
My name's Roger. What John didn't say in his comment, and those are great comments, by the way. There is a email exchange amongst all of us yesterday trying to figure out who is actually going to say something, and it's probably a sign of how disorganized we are as a family that we only figured out, I think, at 2 a.m. this morning that John was going to say something and I was going to chime in. I know I'd regret it if I didn't. I guess I first want to start just by, we're a weepy family, so this will be hard for me. That's probably my mom's emotions coming out, but I'll start with gratitude. That's probably the overarching emotion that I learned from my mother, and one that I spent a lot of time talking to my kids about. And so please know how grateful all of us are for everything that the cancer support team has done in the 40 years since she and Dr. Waltz started it, the unbelievable impact you've had on countless families, the generosity of the people in the room. The impact is incalculable. And so just know how grateful we are for that. I wasn't always so grateful. I was 6 when she started the cancer support team. And I remember, and she writes about this in a partly humorous, partly mocking way, where I said to her, when I get married later in life, I'm going to marry a stay-at-home mom. And that was the first of many short-sighted and ignorant statements from me. But it showed her vision and her wisdom, and just how thoughtful she was for where she was going to go in her life. And probably the best way to I think, summarize her is through the eyes of my daughter. Her name is Amelia Gail Lee. So she's named after my mom. She's 8 years old, and she lives in Menlo Park, California. She's never met my mom. But she literally thinks my mom's a superhero. When my mom died, we made a cartoon book, and it chronicled my mom in kind of a graphical depiction of her just helping people and serving the world and making the world a better place, and that her mission in life was to make people feel better and to cure them. So through the eyes of an 8-year-old girl, she is a superhero, a living superhero. And my daughter, thankfully, is a kind of a living embodiment of my mom. She has all the same personality attributes. My siblings all know her well, and she's an amazing young girl, and one day, hopefully, she will have the same impact on the world that my mom did. But I use that as a metaphor to just say that the work that the CST does is really super heroic, and that the impact you're having is super heroic. And so please know, again, just how grateful we are, and just the vision and the impact that, back 40 years ago, where this organization was started is obviously alive and well because of all the amazing work you guys are doing. So thank you.
love my ball. It's really good. All right, thank you very much.
Wow, tonight's a pretty emotional evening. As I was saying earlier, I doubt there's a person in the room who hasn't had a personal encounter with cancer, either themselves or a family member, a close friend. Cancer doesn't discriminate, neither do we. We help everyone, all ages, all colors, and all economic backgrounds. Here are a few recent cancer support team patients telling their own stories, and this is introduced by one of the nation's leading medical reporters.
Hi, I'm Dr. Max Gomez. As a medical reporter for nearly 40 years, I can tell you that there have been tremendous advances in the diagnosis and treatment of cancer since the Cancer Support Team was founded in 1978. Listen to some of these survival rates. Deaths from breast cancer have declined by 40% over the past 25 years. That means there are 322,000 more survivors. With prostate cancer, the 10-year survival rate is now nearly at 100%, with only a 6% recurrence rate. In the 1960s, fewer than 10% of childhood patients with acute lymphoblastic leukemia survived. Today, at least 80% do. Survival rate for stage 1 testicular cancer is at 98%. Even with stage 3, the odds are now in our favor with a 61% survival rate. The good news is that the money raised to support research and treatment is paying off with many cancers. Not all, but many. The better news is that more and more people are surviving. In fact, I've just co-authored the book, Cells Are the New Cure. I can tell you from my own research that we're on the doorstep of extremely exciting treatments, many of them for cancer. With increased survival, there's an increased need for the Cancer Support Team. But statistics and percentages are simply dry numbers and fuzzy concepts. Let me put some real heart into this and introduce you to some people who are representative of the great work that's been done and is being done by the Cancer Support Team.
My name is Diane, and I was diagnosed with metastatic ovarian cancer 5 years ago. I've taken care of many ovarian patients that have the same diagnosis as myself, and those have not made it through. I didn't think of myself as somebody who needed their help. I was a caregiver, not a care needer. I went back into treatment and I felt overwhelmed and very isolated.
I really didn't know what I was going to do. I had no idea. I had no family to turn to, nobody really.
I was in pain and I didn't know what was happening.
He was treated and then it went away, and then a year later it came back. I had to stop working for a while, and that was scary because as a single mom, you know, I'm the breadwinner, so it was very, very scary time for me.
I needed to know that there were other women out there battling ovarian cancer and were surviving.
I found Cancer Support Team on the internet, and from there on, life just got better. I could talk to them about anything. You know, they knew about my situation, relationship, they knew about me being homeless. They've just been very supportive. It got me physically active, which was good, you know, mentally, you know, because I had points of depression.
But I kept it to myself. I didn't say anything to my mother because I didn't want to worry anybody. So Linda happened to call like a day after I got the news, and I just told her everything what was going on. And it was such a great pleasure just to hear her, and she comforted us.
Wow. She became fast friends with everybody. She'd bring games.
It was just amazing. They came to the hospital just to see how he was doing. So all those things really meant so much to us.
I thought I knew everything there was to know about ovarian cancer, but I didn't. And I actually chose to come to the cancer support group, and I realized how important it was for me because Bonnie and also Patty were able to break down my walls, so I was getting more emotional support that I truly needed.
Helen and Judy, I don't know. I don't know what I'd do without them.
Well, I'm gonna start 10th grade and go to a real high school in Manhattan. I think it's gonna be full of new experiences.
When I think of cancer support team, I think of help and hope.
Cancer support team was always there for us and will be there for other families as well. And the name says it all, support. It's definitely needed. Support is very important. Financial support is very important. Moral support is very important, which for me, that was everything.
I'm very grateful for all the work that they've done for me, and I highly encourage everybody to be part of it.
Well, those patients said it all. They're the reason we're here tonight. So to be able to continue to offer them and other patients services for free, and let me say that again, free. We really count on events like this to help us raise a lot of money. So yes, you're here to help us celebrate, but you're here to spend those dollars. One more vital statistic. The American Cancer Society notes the overall incidence of cancer in Westchester County, right here, is higher than the national average. So while the cancer mortality rate is going down, the number of people living with cancer is going up. That means your dollars are needed more than ever. So we're now going to ask Phil Orlando, our advisory board member, to come up and help us in our very special Fund a Need auction. Thanks, Phil.
Thank you, Tanya. That was a terrific and very powerful video. I have known Alan and Tanya for close to 20 years now. They do stuff like this all the time. They are just absolutely amazing. I think they deserve a round of applause. This has been an extraordinary evening. 40th anniversary. The honorees, speeches they've given have been so moving, so touching. So it should be pretty clear at this point that the Cancer Support Team is a very special organization. Is able to do some amazing things for cancer patients and their families, thanks to all of your overwhelming generosity. Now, as some of you may remember, what I'm about to do right now, we tried brand new in 2014 and it worked. So we tried it again in 2016, and it was so successful and so much fun that Julie decided we would try it again here tonight. So, 3 times the charm. For the next 15 minutes, we are going to run a special type of auction, our Fund a Need auction, with the goal of raising $70,000 to help support Cancer Support Team's free services in the next 15 minutes. Now, you all have books at your station, and inside those books are these cards. This is what you need right now. On the front of the Fund a Need card, in your journal, are the various donation levels and an idea of what that level of support can provide to our patients. On the back of the card is the pledge. If you wish to bid at a certain level,
and we would strongly encourage you to do so, please raise your hand when I get to that level. And one of our lovely young volunteers will pick up your completed pledge card from you. So ladies, please wave your hand so we can see who the volunteers are. All right, look around the room. These are the folks that are going to be helping. Now, if you're bidding, please keep your hand raised until one of the volunteers has gotten you to collect your pledge card. Now, once the bidding starts, this is going to move very quickly. So if you're going to bid, please stay in the ballroom. We will be done in a matter of a few moments. We've got a lot of opportunities to contribute here. The raffle, the grab and go, the silent auction. But if you haven't participated in any of those things, don't worry. This is your chance to contribute. So let's get started. And remember that 100% of the dollars that we raise over the next few minutes are going to go directly to funding the free services that we provide. All right. We're going to start at $10,000. For a generous $10,000 pledge, we can offer 2 months of free nursing, social work counseling, case management, and transportation services for a cancer support team patient. I am delighted to announce that we have a very generous anonymous donor who wants to get the ball rolling for Funded Need tonight, and they have pledged the first $10,000. So we thank them very much for their generosity. Can anyone else join us at $10,000? One. Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you. 2. So we're 3 total at $10,000. 4. Excellent. Thank you. 5. That's awesome. Next up is $5,000. For $5,000, the Cancer Support Team can provide 75 home visits to provide nursing home care for a frail older adult. Who can join us at $5,000? Thank you. 1, 2, 3. Did we get everyone at 5K? 4. Please raise your hands if you're in. 4. Thank you. Next up is $2,500. For $2,500, the Cancer Support Team can provide 25 hours of case management services to help patients navigate the confusing healthcare insurance system. Who can please join us at $2,500?